Rhett Palmer.
The mayor of the airwaves is ready to go. Talking to people you want to know.
Face to face.
One-on-one. Get the story and have some fun with
Rhett Palmer.
And now, the most trusted name in radio, Rhett Palmer, the mayor of the airwaves.
And here we are. I'm Rhett Palmer. How are you? We got a lot to talk about today. David Hunter, former U.S. diplomat, is in the studio. We're going to talk about international affairs. What's going on in the world? So how are you?
Yeah,
I don't have my notes.
Doing good.
I walked right by you? Well,
Yeah.
well, see that? See, that's...
I held it out and you just went by.
Really? I'm sorry. Poor Noah, just ignoring him. Thank you, Noah. Lafayette Escadrille. The American volunteer fighter pilot, World War I. American volunteers traveled to France to join the fight against Germany. Why do we care about this? Training and flying French-owned airplanes, biplanes. This was before the U.S. had officially declared war on Germany. Can American retired jet fighter pilots 2024 volunteer to fly Ukraine's new F-16 jets without violating neutrality wars?
Now, isn't
Laws.
that interesting? We're going from, and by the way, blessed Memorial Day for all those that just had it.
That was passed.
That's right.
Forget it. Yeah.
So, well, I say that because my father is buried at Arlington.
Oh, well, and that's in Washington, D.C., right?
D.C., yeah.
And what did he do?
He was a fighter pilot.
Your father was a
My
fighter
father
pilot.
was, that's why I'm mentioning
Oh,
this
so you
about
do
fighter.
come from a bright lineage.
Yeah, and
You got to be pretty smart to be a fighter pilot, right?
yeah. Well,
What do you think about the Tuskegee Airmen, the black guys?
Yeah, they were not
They
fighter
didn't-
pilots, though, were they? Were they? I thought they were.
No, they were fighter
Were they
pilots.
fighter pilots too? Okay. All right.
And not one of the bombers went down when they were protecting them. Well, they
Okay.
had to make a name because
Yeah.
there was prejudice against black people. Can you
Right.
imagine that?
Right.
What the heck is with people in tan skin?
Well, during this
It's just ludicrous.
during this period in World War I, this is interesting for the audience. A little history lesson. The U.S. was neutral at the time that the Europeans were fighting each other, and yet the Germans were attacking the French, and so some Americans who wanted to help the French decided that they were going to go over to France, and they formed their own squadron of pilots. And it was originally called the American Escadrille. But
Yeah.
then the Germans started getting upset about that and saying, what are the Americans doing over here fighting in a war? America's supposed to be neutral. So they changed the name to Lafayette Escadrille. And that's named after the famous French admiral who came over to America in our American Revolutionary War and helped us fight the British. So it's basically he was essentially a volunteer helping George Washington, and you have in Washington D.C. Lafayette Square named after Admiral Lafayette.
Yeah.
So the idea of a volunteer group fighting and the Lafayette Escadrille, they succeeded in shooting down at least 50 or 60 German planes.
Wow.
So they were not an insignificant force. And all this happened in the period about 1916. So we joined the war in 1917. So
Yeah.
a year before
I don't
we
really care, though.
Yeah.
You?
Well, the key here is the principle of, well, one, they were heroes, and they're still recognized as heroes. There's monuments to the Lafayette Escadrille in France as part of what helped
Okay.
preserve France,
I
which is
understand.
important.
But
for
this is-
today-
this is a weak way to start off a show. I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
People tuned in for today's international affairs.
Yeah.
It's like I go to a church, and
Yeah.
sometimes the guy's talking about Jacob and Israel and stuff, and I'm going,
Yeah.
I mean, I am interested because I'm interested in history, but it's like, what's applicable for today?
Okay, well,
You know, I
what's
see the
appli-
people on the audience and go, man, you're losing them because you're
Okay.
talking about all this eschatology and all this
All
stuff.
right.
It's like, who gives a hoot? And I'm a guy that loves the Bible.
Right.
So right now we got to get in. What about today?
Well, what about today?
What about
is-
jackass
no,
Biden
all right,
and what
just-
he's
no, no,
up
wait,
to?
Rhett, what about today is that the as of April 24th, that was a couple of days ago, the Ukrainian pilots just graduated from their pilot training program in Tucson, Arizona. That's where they've been training for the last 6 or 8 months on F-16s, how to fly these things.
Yep.
They just graduated from that. Also, Belgium has announced that they are going to be providing up to 30 F-16s to Ukraine. The F-16s are starting to arrive. The pilots are starting to be in their final stages
Who
of
builds the
training.
F-16s?
Lockheed Martin.
Well, Lockheed Martin. I
Yeah.
venture to say that Lockheed Martin probably is flying those pilots over at no cost from Ukraine because that means they sell more things. There's a lot of people making a lot of money on this warring.
Well, there may be, and that's for another.
And how come nobody's calling out? Everybody's on Israel's case. Why isn't anybody on, Russia's case and
We are.
and Ukraine?
We are. Yeah, in
Not
fact-
really.
in
no.
fact-
Do you see anybody out protesting in the
Rhett,
streets?
Rhett, no.
No. Do you see anybody protesting?
No, because we're
No.
already
Because
sanctioning.
they'd rather hate the Jews than
Rhett, no, that's not correct. But don't bring that in. We'll get to the Jews. We have lots of time to talk about that in the show. But I want to talk about the F-16s arriving and the fact that, keep in mind, if you got a plane and you don't know how to fly it, it's not going to do you a lot of good.
That's right.
The Ukrainians need pilots
Is that what
now.
happened when we left the stuff back in Afghanistan? They didn't know how to fly that stuff, did they? I presume.
Yeah. Anyway, the point Ukraine just announced, by the way, they announced that they will now allow foreigners to serve as pilots and engineering specialists, according to a spokesman for Ukraine. So if Ukraine is needing international recruits, then the question arises, can the Americans and can others...
American Ukrainians.
No, not American Ukrainians, Americans, volunteers. This is like the French Foreign Legion, okay? Anybody can join. You don't have to
Would
be...
they get compensated?
They might get compensated.
It's not going to be much.
They might get
In other words, you're not
compensated.
going for the compensation. You're going because...
Well, let me use an example of there are already American volunteers in Ukraine fighting with the Ukrainians against the Russians. There is a guy, his name is Ryan O'Leary, and this was reported in Stars and Stripes, which is an American military newspaper, in March of this year. That's just recently. They describe how he is leading a 100-man group in the 59th Motorized Brigade, and he joined up with the Ukrainians to become the commander of this organization, this group of 100 men. He said, the reason I joined is because we have a saying in America, freedom isn't free. And I feel our politicians have forgotten that freedom doesn't end at our border. Freedom has to be defended around the world against autocracy, dictators,
Too bad.
like the communists and so forth. So the
bad,
simple
yes.
fact, Rhett, is you could go into Ukraine and join up. You could sign up and be fighting in Ukraine.
I bet you they'd love that.
Well, you could be their propagandist. Maybe you could be in that wing of the.
Here I am. All right, what do I do? Can you dig a shovel? No, I'm out of breath. What can you do here?
Yeah. No. So the point is,
What do you think?
yeah, it looks good. Yeah. The point is,
God bless America.
Rhett, you need a little bit. Your beard needs to be a little longer before the 4th of July, though, if you're going to do that. And then you can keep growing it till Christmas and be Papa Saint Nick.
You see, we're gonna install a water spout above you, and when I'm up in Vermont this summer, I have a button on my phone.
Yeah.
I will be able to deploy that.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be good?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to this idea of we've got an audience out there. Some of them are young. Some of them have former military experience. And some of them are saying, I would like to stop the Russians and help the Ukrainians. The fact is they could do it legally by volunteering to help in the Ukrainian, especially if they have pilot training or aviation skills on repairing F-16s. The Ukrainians need these guys. They need them. And keep in mind, F-16s are sold all over the world. So, there could be pilots.
Does Israel allow Jewish Americans?
We're
who
not
are
talking about Israel.
No, I want to know though. But do they allow? Are they allowed to fly planes over there?
I don't know. I haven't looked into that.
Did you know before World War II though that Winston Churchill warned the Parliament? They said, "You're selling planes. Stop selling planes." Excuse me, to the Germans, because they're up to something. They're up to no good. I can feel it. And they said, "Do you know what they said? They said, why don't you retire, you old fart?"
Well,
That's what they
anyway,
said. This was before he became a guy that helped save the world back then, you know?
Anyway, Robert.
He was in his 60s. Why don't you retire, you old fart?
Robert F. Kennedy, who was then the Attorney General. This is at the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis and organizing people to invade Cuba. You had Americans who were organizing to invade Cuba.
Yeah.
Now, the technical distinction was you can organize a military activity if you are offshore, not inside the United States. It's against the law of neutrality to organize something within the United States and then bring this gang over and attack another country that the U.S. is not at war with. That is a violation of neutrality. But if you were to go, this is what Robert Kennedy said. He said, no individual is prohibited from departing the U.S. to join others in a second country for an expedition against a third country. So you could, in theory, set up a Ukraine recruitment facility, a Ukraine recruitment facility in the Bahamas.
He positioned our bell right next to him for future use. Show him who's in charge.
I tell you, that's called thinking ahead.
Feeney's not here.
Thinking ahead, yeah.
We won't have to use it. Feeney's not here.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
I thought he'd be back by now.
No, so he's off for a month. So
Oh, he's gone for a month.
yeah.
Oh.
So the point is that we've already got volunteers who are serving there in non-pilot functions.
Yeah.
This guy O'Leary, he's leading a military motorized brigade, and he says. He actually said, this is O'Leary, he said, I believe Ukraine is a place where good is standing its ground against evil.
Okay, let me ask something. Noah, where are you? Okay, could you look at his mic, because I don't think you left it like that. Did you touch that mic this morning? Because I think somebody came in here with all the different shows that are recorded here.
It's all right, though. It's not blocking
No,
me. Yeah.
that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about sound quality. Don't touch it.
I
I'm
won't.
talking about sound quality. Could you come
Yeah.
in and look at it, please? Give it.
It sounds fine. He says it sounds fine. All right. That's nice to so let's
Okay,
go
so
back.
I just want to make sure that position is okay. Okay.
Let's focus on this. So the Ukrainian government is saying it's okay. We would be happy to have foreign pilots come in and help fly our new F-16s. So anybody out there that's listening that has F-16 pilot experience, and there are a lot of them,
I'm on my way.
They ought to be on their way.
Let's move along. I
Yeah.
want to talk about current events. Now, look at.
Yeah.
I will say this about your father, though,
Right.
on behalf of honoring your father.
Yeah.
So he was a pilot in World War I or World War II? Two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, he was a fighter ace.
Well,
as a
I had
matter
a friend of mine. I don't know if he's still alive. He was at Johns Island,
Yeah.
and he went to our Bible study up there. And he was a quiet little skinny guy.
Right.
And, it's always the quiet one at the table. We have a big group of men. There might be 14 men at this table for our Bible study.
Yeah.
Get up there when the sun's coming up. And Richard, and very soft-spoken. And, I do want to tell everything so people can make up their own minds. Now, I've said that Donald Trump has helped a lot of people. I know those stories. But I will say this on behalf of Richard, and this is something you'll probably like. Yeah, you, Rhino, you. Anyway, that he said he did the electricity for Donald Trump's, what do you call that place where you gamble? Casino in New Jersey. And he'd done all this work, millions of dollars of work. So there was a final payment due of $300,000. Then they're going to have their big grand opening on
Whatever.
on Monday,
Yeah.
Tuesday. And so now this seems to be. See, you and I particularly me, I'm not this world. You know, Jesus said the children of this age are wiser than the children of the age to come. I was made for the age to come. I'm not naturally given to guile and deceit. So, but anyway, apparently a lot of builders or a lot of people but anyway, so he asked Donald Trump for the 300,000. Donald said, "Well, why don't you sue me for it?"
Right.
And that's when Richard, who was a fighter pilot, World War II, who was a quiet man with depth, he said, "Well, Donald," he said, "you're having your grand opening on Tuesday. It'd be a shame
If the
if
lights
those
didn't work."
marquees were not lit up." So he immediately promptly wrote him a check for 300,000.
Yeah.
Now I want to say this because I've been naive when I first heard this story. Okay,
Right.
I know a lot of good that Donald's done, but on behalf, I've heard about this. There's a way that the world out there, the nasty people, live. You and I, who are regular working people, try to be honest and live a godly life. I will say that it might be acceptable. Does that mean it's okay for Donald to do that? I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't. It's not right to do that.
Yeah.
But it is a common practice among these big, what do you call them, captains of industry. I mean, they play by a whole different set of rules. They're highly intelligent people. But anyway, now, why would I report something negative about Trump when I'm going to vote for Trump and I think Trump's the best man for this country? Because I'm always talking about the good stuff he's done, but I have to also say, I wish he's better with his mouth. Have you noticed he's better with his mouth lately?
Well,
Pretty much.
you referred to me as a rhino, which is that's technically incorrect.
It's a
but-
Republican in name only.
Yeah, I know. And
You're
in
not a
that,
Republican,
in that
right?
case, no, I'm not. I used to be, but I'm not. So you
Are
can't
you a
even
liberal
say
or are you a Democrat? What do you think you are?
I'm an independent.
So you don't want to put yourself under any.
I'm an
you're not
independent.
gonna be
I
a
choose
pigeonhole.
based on the best quality of the candidates in front of me. That's how I choose. Okay.
Then I presume you're not going to be voting whatsoever at this election.
well, it's getting rather discouraging, I have to say. But
I bet you Kennedy would be a good president
but Trump-
because he'd have a balance, but the guy can't take the way he talks.
Yeah, I know. It's
so irritating.
It's terrible. Yeah, and we should remember that Trump is actually a dino,
What's a dino mean?
a Democrat in name only. Trump was a Democrat
Yeah.
most of his
He
life.
supported Hillary.
Most of
and-
his life, he was a Democrat. Okay.
Yeah. What
He-
happened to that?
So
Yeah.
you know,
And black folks want to come against him. The guy hired
Yeah.
a bunch of black people all through his whole, and he's known to treat everybody nice. Go ahead, go to his building in New York City, and the black guy running the elevator said, "Mr. Trump treats everybody with great respect." I don't know how a guy can treat everybody with great respect and get on TV and start talking General Colin Powell down the day that after he dies,
yeah,
which
that's
I
right.
found deplorable.
Right.
Not good, Donald.
All right. Well, anyway, we've talked about him. Let's get on to the next topic.
All right, let's
here.
get on to the next thing. Enough of this Donald Trump stuff, right?
Yeah.
Whatever.
We can.
Oh, I'm sick of the whole thing.
Well-
let's just go have a summer picnic and forget everything, right?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, this next couple of topics are going to be discouraging for you, and for some of us in the audience
You know?
are going to be upsetting.
Okay,
upsetting.
before we get upset, let's
Yeah.
say this. You really should get on the Breeze, the new airplane here,
Yeah.
and you need to fly up to Burlington, and you need to come and stay at our bed and breakfast up there.
Yeah. Well, that's nice.
Normally, $200-300 a night, absolutely free, no charge to
Yeah.
you. Come up, have dinner with us, take you around, we'll show you around Stowe, because that's where the Kennedys used to hang out there,
Yeah.
where they're skiing and stuff. And I forget, there's something that just triggered me to say that to you. You know what it is? It's called life.
Yeah.
You got to be careful about getting stuck.
Right.
And you got that house over on the Barrier Island,
Right.
and you play your tennis. By the way, have you played pickleball yet?
No. And
It's the newest rage.
I know. It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, do you think you're above that?
No, it actually messes up your tennis game. That's the problem.
Oh,
If
you're
you play
you're
pickleball,
certain of.
yeah, yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Because it's
Because you get used to the short.
the short shots.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
it's,
legitimate. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's
So-
not a snooty thing. It's
No.
just a.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now let's get back. But anyway, you are invited to come up. Would
Well,
you ever
thank you.
consider actually coming up? It'd be nice if you came up
Yeah.
for a couple. Now I will say this to everybody that comes to visit me. I say this to everybody so nobody can get hurt feelings. All friends. They say fish and visitors are the same. After about 3 or 4 days, they begin to stink. So I give this a caveat.
Right.
You're going to come visit us, fine. Max is 6 nights.
Yeah, that's a
I
long
say
time.
maybe 3 nights should be the average stay because I don't want to lose friendships of people that are coming up to
I know.
stay.
I've had people stay with me from Europe.
Yeah,
And
you know,
when
this-
they ended up, supposedly they were going to go back down to Palm Beach, and then they said, oh, their friends down there weren't available, so they said we need to extend. So we ended up having them for 6 or 7 days, and it was getting very tiring at the end.
Yeah.
And they had a kid and grandchildren with them
Oh, boy.
in our house, so that was.
Well, I'll
really
tell you
tough.
something that just so you know about my true character. So I used to sing in churches, and remember, I didn't have a normal upbringing, so I didn't know boundaries.
Yeah.
And it took the ladies in my life to teach me lessons and stuff. So when I was traveling before I came to Vero Beach, about 32 years ago, and I was singing in Florence, South Carolina, and I had a bunch of bookings at a bunch of churches in that town. So this older, nice couple said, "Oh, well, you can come and stay at our house." So I'm at their house, and I got a section of the house. It's all mine. And 3 days, 4 days, 5, 6 days go by. So at the end of 2 weeks, he finally said, "Mr.
But
Palmer."
you were young; you didn't know your boundaries. That was the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was 30.
Yeah.
And I was kind of stupid for a 30-year-old.
Yeah.
But like I said, the children of this age are wiser than the children of the age to come. Now, I've learned that. Now, if somebody were to come to my house even now without calling first, I'd be a little bit like, whoa, what are you doing?
Yeah. Right.
You really should call. I didn't even know enough. I mean, so just on behalf, I just thought you'd get a kick out of knowing that, and I'm owning up to it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get down to business, the counselor. So you said this is going to upset me. Which one of these? Let's go.
All of them, but start with this
Israel attack?
attacking a humanitarian.
Okay, the humanitarian zone refugee camp.
Slowly,
Over the weekend on May 26th, IDF, which is the
Israeli Defense Forces.
dropped bombs on the Tel Al-Sultan refugee camp, a plastic tent city of displaced Gaza Palestinians. Apparently, this attack set fire to the plastic tents, causing 45 deaths, including many women and children burned alive. Now, I have to say, I admonish them to come on. We could fight a more nice. I don't know. There's another side of people.
Yeah.
And you could say it's mean, but war is mean. But these people, a lot of them chose to elect Hamas.
Okay.
So,
This.
but I still don't agree. I would not.
Yeah.
I would not do that.
Yeah. This is really created.
Reprehensible.
This has really created what I call a firestorm of anger at Israel. This is one of the worst things that has
Public
happened.
relations wise, it's terrible.
Yeah. Now, and there are lots of moving parts in this, so we're going to examine it.
Remember, I'm a semi-Zionist, so I'm for.
yeah.
Okay.
In principle, you're for, but when it talks about burning people alive
no,
in their
don't do
tents,
that.
in their plastic
I don't
tents.
know why he's allowing this to go down. What's going on?
And
Come
actually, Netanyahu said publicly after this event, he said, "This is a tragic mishap." The term he used was tragic mishap.
Okay.
Meaning
What
a
is there-
mistake.
okay, a mistake. So
A
how
mistake.
did they make? Now I know there's even friendly fire. We've had Americans kill Americans, but so why are they? Why is this another mishap? How could this happen when we have modern day GPS coordinates and et cetera?
Now of course Israel military is conducting an investigation of this to try to find
How about
out.
an outside source
to find-
investigating it.
Well, that's of course would be the logical thing, but Israel doesn't allow any outsiders. They don't allow any outside reporters. They don't allow any outside investigators. They don't allow anybody to investigate the Israeli military except the Israeli military. And the Israeli military, as I said last week, is not able to conduct internal justice. They are basically cover your tail.
Okay, so you and I, let's pretend now we're in charge of Israel. You and I are Israel. We run Israel.
Yeah.
Well, you got to understand, too. I mean, do you watch TV objectively? Do you see how NBC, CBS, and ABC they skew things against Trump constantly? I mean, they now. You might be against Trump, and that's okay. That's your prerogative, but at least let's be objective and hear that when they said, because I remember when they were attacking Clinton, I had the intelligence and the character within my heart to say to that guy Starr, stop attacking him. You're going, come on, this is ridiculous the way they're going after him.
Yeah.
And the Europeans mocked us because they said, so a man had a sexual encounter. Now, remember, I'm a Christian, so I'm thinking, oh, his character's bad, he should not be president. Well, probably nobody that's president should be president because they're all of a bad ilk.
If
But-
this was a one-off situation, Rhett,
Yeah.
that would be a different story. But let me give you and the audience some context here.
Yes.
The context here is this attack that caused the burning alive of 45 innocent people.
Yeah.
A
Very bad.
horrible disaster.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, there are no hospitals functioning in the area because all the hospitals have been shut down. Okay, and there's no supplies and medical supplies because the medical supplies have been cut off. So, you're literally, this is beyond cruel. This is
Say they will let somebody objectively come in and
Yeah.
really find out.
Well-
and you say, well, of course they're not going to.
All right.
Well, of course they're not going to because they can't really get somebody who's honestly objective, I don't think.
Well, they certainly don't want somebody that's honestly objective because they're barring outside investigators and they're barring outside news reporters, even
Barring.
preventing them from coming in. They don't
Yeah.
give them visas to come into Gaza. So you don't see foreign reporters in Gaza.
Oh, really?
No, you don't. That's part of the problem. And there's been a protest by a lot of outside journalists recently. Why are you denying us the right to go in here? It's been 8 months. And when I say it's been 8 months, Israel is now saying,
Okay, technically, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
But we also, there has to be a tit and a tat here. In other words, I believe in the freedom of the press.
well, good.
Totally,
I do too.
Totally and
Yeah.
absolutely. But I will say this.
Yeah.
Do we have a press anymore?
Yes, we do. And there are,
Well,
we have a press, and it's not just in the United States. There's a world press. You have the BBC. You have
would you say
all these
now,
other
I would
organizations.
say I used to trust BBC. I haven't watched them lately, although I have their app. I think they're pretty objective.
They're pretty objective, except about the Queen and the King, the royal family.
Okay,
They're-
forget
they're,
about that
you know,
stuff. But
Otherwise, they're
I don't
objective.
give a hoot. But anyway, although I will say this,
Yeah.
Queen Elizabeth,
Yeah,
she was a great queen.
yeah.
I hear
She
stories
was.
now.
She
of her-
was.
Do you know she jumped out of that stupid helicopter? Remember the anniversary or whatever it was? That she really did that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know.
King Charles said she actually did that. Most people don't realize that or believe it.
Okay. Yeah. I still find that hard to believe because she would have been in her
Let me
in
tell you
her
something.
80s or something when she did that.
Maybe 90.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Well, look at George Walker Bush. He'd
Yeah.
been a fighter pilot.
Well, that's different.
And
yeah.
he,
Yeah.
up every birthday, he would, you remember, jump
He
out
jumped
of
out of it
Yeah.
with somebody holding
Yeah.
on to him. But yeah, still.
And I met him a
Yeah.
number of times.
Yeah.
Great
So-
sense of humor, which
so-
is a sign of humility.
Anyway,
I think he was a great man. There's a whole bunch of people out there now that think the Bushes are bad people. I
Yeah.
don't know where they
Yeah.
come up with this stuff.
The point is that there is this is not a one event that just happened. This is a continuation of a long range of events from the very beginning after that terrible October 7th attack, when a lot of people, including top military, said to the Palestinians, you
Okay, we
Palestinians,
can't see your face.
you Palestinians are nothing but human animals, and you wanted hell. We're going to give you hell. There is that attitude. We're going to talk more about that today
Now,
because
yeah, I agree with you, but it's on both sides.
well,
Because there are Israeli young soldiers
yeah,
who are vitriolic, and when you shoot a child who's over in the garbage section over here in Gaza, and he ends up in a wheelchair for the rest of his life, that's wrong too. But are they held accountable?
Yeah.
Is anybody being held accountable here? All
Well-
this vitriol and all this anger and all this war
the
and
term
this hatred.
the term
and-
held accountable and the term impunity are opposites. Impunity is the absence of being held accountable,
Right.
not being punished. Impunable. I can't be
right.
punished. And unfortunately, the Israeli government has been granting impunity to the crimes that the soldiers have been committing. Now, this issue of this bombing of the camp, what's called and this was in a safe zone. This is over on the border near Egypt, where this attack took place. And a second attack, by the way, took place 2 days later in Al Mawasi, which is this stretch of sandy beach. That just happened yesterday. Al Mawasi attack. And 20 or 21 people were killed there. Again, living in a sandy beach in a bunch of plastic tents. and bombs are dropped on them. And most of the people killed are children and women. That happened a day or two ago. Now, the Israeli Defense Forces are saying, oh, we didn't drop those bombs. That wasn't us. Well, they're denying it. This is 2 days after this tent burning where people are burned alive. It's now called it's now defined as a massacre. So if they didn't drop the bombs, then who did? You know, and the report coming in off the ground was that there were Israeli warplanes flying above before these places had these explosions. So it's a pretty good guess that the airplanes of Israel dropped the bombs.
It's very hard.
I don't know that Hamas has fighter jets.
No.
I don't think they do.
No.
No, they don't.
No.
So if fighter jets are flying above and bombs are falling and the people are being blown up, it's pretty clear who's dropping them. So now Israel, by the way, has conducted a preliminary investigation because this refugee camp, plastic tent city, burning alive, has gotten so much public attention in the last couple of days. And Israel is now saying, well, it looks like we only dropped 2 very small bombs on 2 Hamas terrorists, and there must have been a secondary explosion somewhere else that caused the city of tents to catch fire. That, of course, would, and they're saying it may have been Hamas weapons that were over there.
I can see that you're angry, and I think it's righteous anger.
That's righteous anger. It's righteous anger.
In this way, I would think that, you know, we have come in here and been talking about this war, and I have to apologize first to my Father in heaven because I really feel as though I've sinned. I could almost cry.
Yeah.
I think that I am pro-Israel, generally speaking. There's no doubt about it. But to talk about these things so flippantly, I would think my Father in heaven, and maybe he'll forgive me because I'm confessing this, that talking a little too flippantly about all this death. Now, there was evil perpetrated upon the Israeli people. This was horrible on the 7th.
Yeah.
How far it should go to removing this cancer that's in this thing, and then I come back here, and I have to say, if I'm going to play my father's advocate here and say, but why wouldn't you let these people go out and fish over 3 miles out? These people are living in a living prison. Okay, so I mean, if we have maybe somebody should draw this out so we can all see it and say, where's your accountability? What do we do here?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm pro Jews, and yet I do read in the Bible where it says there's a point where he says there's a people that God refers to as synagogues of demons. In other words, not all that are Jews will be saved, according to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and according to Jesus Messiah, who I believe in, who was a Jew, who I believe to be the Messiah, have had miraculous encounters, and he is who he is, and he is the great I am.
Right.
And, you know, so I keep going, well, I use a whitewash for all of Israel, and instead, and say, yeah, I'm a Zionist, and now, of course, you got to be careful. I've been warned to watch about because there's a group, I am a Zionist, that I believe they should be able to be there, but there's a whole other group of, you know, these words, just like the rainbow. You got the gay people who have they took the word gay and they took that. It's a nice word, gay. And now, and for those of us who I believe homosexuality is probably a perversion. Do I love homosexual people? You're damn right. And when I see, there's a couple I know over in California, 2 ladies, and they're married to each other. And I saw recently on Facebook a Jewish family in town here that I know, and they got married, and they adopted 2 kids. I want to send them a letter and say, thank you. Thank you. I know I was on the street at 14 without mother or father, apparently, for a while. And if a couple of gay guys or a couple of gay lesbian ladies had taken me in, God bless them. And so, I mean, I just want kids to have home and love. So my priority, and I believe this would please my Father in heaven, is love. Yes, it's a perversion, but it's also, you got guys picking on homosexuals from the pulpits, and they've had affairs with ladies. Clean up your act. Let he who's without sin be judging. It's still, you know, I believe there's sin, but let God deal with that. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And it's like with this whole thing with Israel now, I'm pro-Israel, but I'm not pro killing babies.
And burning people alive. And burning,
you know,
yeah,
heaven
and,
forbid.
And literally, the results, people going in, the teams going in there looking at the after attack damage. Besides people being burned alive, many people had their arms and legs
I know.
chopped off. There were
Well, we've lost our soldiers
were-
too, so it's horrible.
and
War is
therefore it
horrible.
was not just burning. There was actually
I
flying
understand.
shrapnel.
I
So-
understand.
so-
I understand. Let's
so
just, but it is war. But where you balance this war thing, I mean, like, you know, nobody was saying,
Yeah.
you know, don't kill Dresden. Most
Yeah.
of us in hindsight now look at Dresden and go, oh my God, who approved that?
Now this destruction, this massive destruction, wanton, horrible destruction, that occurred either the same day or one day after the 8 rockets from Hamas were fired at Tel Aviv. So there is a
That's about the same as a chihuahua biting my shoe.
yeah. It is, except that you could, in theory, you could understand that Israeli pilots and maybe senior military people were angry and embarrassed. One, that the Hamas could still strike after 8 months and could threaten Tel Aviv, and people, millions in Tel Aviv, were hiding
They
in their
sent up
bomb
300
shelters.
bombs, I think. 300, right?
No,
Only 8 landed.
no. This happened
A
just
few days ago.
a few days ago.
Yeah.
They
They sent up 300, but only like
No,
4
no.
or 8 of them landed in Tel Aviv.
I don't know if there were 300. I heard that there were 8 rockets
No,
that were
no.
fired.
No. There were
And-
300 fired that blew them up, but a few of them got through.
So you're saying
8 got
Hamas a couple of days ago had 300
through. Well,
rockets?
I'm not so sure
Had
it's
300
just
rockets?
Hamas. I don't know if Iran.
They're saying it was
Who
Hamas.
are the other guys? What's
Hezbollah. No, it
Hezbollah,
was
okay.
not Hezbollah. No,
Let me
these
ask
were
you this.
Hamas fired from Rafah area.
You know the guy who was the president of Iran?
Yeah.
Okay, was killed in the helicopter.
Yeah.
Does everybody just believe that was just a regular helicopter crash?
Well, you know, there are some that could suspect that was had Israeli's handprint on it. There could be.
Well,
But the
I was
Iranians are not
talking-
accusing them. The Iranians are
I
not
was
accusing
talking to a Secret Service man last
Yeah.
week,
Yeah,
retired.
right. And he said that was what was going
We
on.
have a thing called GPS,
Right.
and we have the power to alter that. If
Well-
somebody wants to, they can pick out Rhett Palmer and send me when I say I want to go to
Yeah.
Cadillac Mountain in Maine. They could send me up to the tower in Toronto. Accidentally, you know what I mean?
Well,
so what I'm saying is, can they control the coordinates that are in that helicopter that's
Yeah.
American made?
Well, that was a
And-
1979 made
Oh.
or 1974 made Bell helicopter.
Oh, so we
it was
didn't-
owned by the Shah of Iran. It was not. It was an
Okay.
American helicopter.
So then we did not have GPS
that thing was-
capability on that.
That thing was so old, it was an antique. Okay,
Oh,
it's actually a lot older than my car, which is
But
an
this
antique.
does eliminate the guy who represented that Muslim Brotherhood, who, if you're a Christian or a Jew or anybody of good sense, they're not good guys. They're the extreme. It's like the what do you call the bald-headed
He was
guys
the
who-
president of Iran, okay? He was not the Ayatollah, but he was the president of Iran, okay? It doesn't matter. You know, you can decide whether you believe that the Iranian Shias are influenced or controlling the Muslim Brotherhood. That's a totally off the charts discussion. We can talk about that some other time. But let's get back to this current topics of outrage today. You're correct in feeling, as you have described, and I feel that way too, that I support Israel, but I do not support what Israel is doing right now. I think it is totally wrong. It needs to be condemned. And this, you know, Netanyahu used the term, we attempted to keep civilians safe in Rafah. We evacuated 1 million people out of Rafah. That's what he said. Now, put on your thinking cap, Rhett.
Yeah.
How did Israel evacuate 1 million people out of Rafah? They did not evacuate people out of Rafah. The Rafah people fled. They got into their donkey carts and drove, limped along in their wheelchairs to get out of Rafah before the Israeli full attack. That's
they
what it
said
was.
that
We
Israel-
didn't evacuate
No,
Rafah.
Nobody did.
Well, they evacuated themselves.
That's right.
Israel's claiming, oh, we evacuated Rafah. How outrageous. How outrageous for the
Well,
Israelis.
I mean, I haven't heard one thing about them sending in a busload and taking.
I haven't heard
anywhere.
any busloads, and they don't have any tents set up, and they don't have any water and medical supplies for where they're going. Okay, these
yeah,
people.
You don't yell so
no,
loud.
I'm just trying to.
I understand.
This is another example. I'm looking at this as a combination of factors that implies to me that Israel is lying to us. I don't appreciate people lying to me. Okay, and when it is so blatant that somebody turns the truth around and says, "Oh, we evacuated 1 million people out of Rafah," and they're taking credit for the fact that 1 million had to flee.
But we're at an age of real evil. I mean, okay, like you're going to say this doesn't count, but it does count. It's the whole thing. Would you agree, if you're really objective and honest in life?
Yeah.
Have they weaponized our government against Donald Trump? It's reprehensible. What
Okay.
I just want to know. No, what I'm saying is, we are at an age where evil seems to prevail. And I'm taking a second look at all this because I go,
Yeah.
you know, who do you trust?
Okay.
I mean, I just don't trust man.
This question of whether Trump is being attacked
No, but
by
it's the point.
a political cabal, that is of course a convenient excuse. Trump has done a lot of stupid things and has got
fine.
himself in trouble. When he carries classified materials down to Mar-a-Lago and then the government comes to him and says, give them back. And he says, oh, I don't have them. And then they raid his house and there are hundreds of boxes of
I don't
classified
know.
materials.
I know.
He lied to the people that were trying to get the boxes back in a less confrontational manner. Trump lied. He said, oh, I don't have these. And he had classified documents laying in his bedroom.
You're yelling. If it's true, you don't have to yell.
I'm trying to get a point across, Rhett. This is not just about some conspiracy against Trump. Trump brought this on himself. He brought it on himself.
See, but what you're doing, that's like saying,
If I had
let's
taken
say
classified
I
documents,
go out and I had sexual encounters with 12 women that
And got
we know
AIDS.
it's fact. Well, let me finish. No.
Okay.
And then now I'm being accused in court. Just because I did that, they're bringing up stuff in that court that has nothing to do with this lady thing here. This lady here, and she done this for money in the past, you know, and so whatever he's done doesn't make him. Let's say he's a liar in business. That doesn't make him guilty of murder over here.
no,
And my father was a lawyer. You know, you have the objectivity here.
All right.
And I know there's an emotional response. The bad thing is Trump has made himself an ideal target because people, hello, Donald, I'm voting for you, but people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. Now, those that do vote for him, we believe that Donald Trump actually does care for America. He's a goofball when it comes to things he says. And if I was his friend, I would ask him for Joker status. He needs somebody around him to say, no,
he also
stop it.
He also, in my book, has low moral character. He would be drummed out of the military if he were
Okay.
in the
Now,
military.
let me ask you
except
this.
that he
Let me
got
ask-
out of the military by using his
Come on.
bone
Yeah,
spurs
tell me about
excuse.
all the Democratic senators and presidents
Sure.
that got their children out too. They're all in it together. They're all in the pool. They all go to the Senate cafe for $3.50.
For their lobster dinner.
$2 million in lobster and crab meat every couple of weeks in Washington, D.C. of your money, folks, just like they take my money. I have to work for a living to keep this on the air, but NPR gets $300 million a year.
Yeah, I know. We've heard that enough. You said
No,
that
you
last-
haven't heard
you
enough
said
until it
that
ends,
last
or
week.
mail me a
Yeah,
check.
you pointed
Why
that out
should I
last
have
week.
to struggle
You
like I
pointed
do?
it out last week.
Hello, we should like to support our local show and give us $1,000 a month, please.
Okay.
We'll help promote your business.
All right. Okay, let's get on to the next topic, and then we'll have a break. But we got one more topic here before the break. The video of IDF.
You know, I just don't. I
Rhett,
don't see
Rhett.
anybody as clean.
Rhett.
There's just nobody clean anymore.
Here.
I mean, the Bible even says that. They look to and fro. The eyes of God looks to and fro for the
Here.
righteous on the earth, and there's only one that will be available. Now, you said you were a believer. They said there's only one that will be able to take charge
Yeah.
and pull those seals off, and that is the Holy
Right.
Lamb of God.
Yeah.
Other than that, we're all sinners.
All right. Well, here's some more sin to talk about. This is number three.
Let's not mock nor make light of it, because children are being murdered, and
No.
you know, and they were on both sides. What do you want to go
Yeah.
to now? Israeli female?
Yeah.
IDF soldiers held hostage by Hamas. Okay. Last week, the IDF released film from Hamas body cams showing young Israeli soldiers who had been captured. Okay, on the 7th, and Israel claims it was offered to the families of the hostages, who are now using it to demand the immediate release of their family members. But why did IFF only declassify and release this video now? You said so. Go ahead. Why?
Yeah,
Why?
I mean, this is an interesting. I want to describe about these people the terms that are used in the media, Israeli media, and what you call sympathetic U.S. media and Western media. Is these were young girls, and you saw photographs of them. With
I don't care if they're young or old. Rape is rape.
No, they did not say they were raped. They said they were young girls, and they showed some with blood and bruises and beaten up. Keep in mind, though, these were women soldiers. These are what's called intelligence spotters. That's the term for what they were. The job they were doing. They were manning cameras, looking inside Gaza, looking at the Hamas and the others that were potential threats. That's their job. And when they saw things that looked suspicious, they reported it up the chain of command for the senior level IDF to respond. Now, it so happens that these women that are spotters are mostly in the teens, late teens, and early 20s. That's the age of these girls. All right? Mm-hmm. They're girls in the sense that they are young, but they are actually women who are working in the Israeli military. So they are essentially part of the intelligence, military intelligence for this IDF. That's something to keep in mind. So you can't sit there and say, "Oh, I'm just an innocent girl who happened to, to be captured by these horrible Hamas people."
They did some atrocities on women.
Wait a minute. These are not people that were out at the dance floor, in the desert and on the rave. That's a different situation. Those people are a different category. But these women, IDF soldiers, they call them young girls. They were there in a military capacity. If you were driving a tank.
So what are you saying? That it's okay to beat them up and rape them?
I'm saying that they should be considered prisoners of war.
Yeah.
And that they are in a military capacity. That's one of the reasons why, this whole issue of hostage swaps.
The only thing is Hamas is not recognized.
Hostage swaps. Yes, Hamas is discussing prisoner swaps.
Yeah, but you're talking about what's this thing about war? The rules of engagement.
The rules of engagement.
Well, they're not. They don't.
Yes,
they
do.
No one, they have no one. They're not accountable to anybody.
Yes, they have been accountable. In fact,
to who?
Rhett, listen to me. That's why you're not following. The point here is that these women soldiers, young girls or not, they are soldiers, and therefore their value in an exchange for civilian prisoners that the Israelis are rounding up. They have literally got now 10,000 people imprisoned in Israel that they have rounded up from Gaza and from the West Bank. They've thrown them into these what's called incarceration cells. And we're going to discuss this next because there's a question of the mistreatment of people in these incarceration cells. But the women soldiers are considered high-value prisoners because they are soldiers. A soldier is not a civilian. And therefore, soldiers are exchanged for.
Remember Calley, Lieutenant Calley, in Vietnam.
Yeah. Yeah, he committed war crimes, and he was tried and sentenced for the war crimes.
And you and I, among everybody else here, probably sins against God. We've come in here, and we speak flippantly.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't speak flippantly.
Yes, we do.
I don't speak anything flippant.
I'm not. Maybe you don't.
Yeah.
You know what? It's not my job to judge you.
Yeah.
I'll judge me.
Yeah.
I have come in here and spoken flippantly.
Well, shame on you.
No, I mean, no, it's no shame because the blood of Jesus has saved me from shame. But, it's got to be displeasing that, we're sitting here and we laugh and we talk about, I mean, the only reason I allow this, otherwise I'd cancel this segment every week.
Yeah.
I think to say, oh, you're just a little show in Florida. Let me tell you something. In today's world, we don't know who's listening to this.
I know my friend in
The
London.
guy who runs Israel could prune his innocence. I've been listening to this. This is a Bibi. I watched Rhett Palmer. He makes some sense here. All of a sudden, we change the war and show people live who would have died. You never know who you're influencing.
Right, and my friend in London writes to me occasionally and says he listens on a regular basis.
See?
And
Now we got a guy in London. Now let's say we influence that guy in London, and then that guy in London speaks to somebody else at a dinner on a Friday night. Then that guy has a speaking engagement in front of Parliament, and we've made a difference because everybody leaves a footprint.
well, that's encouraging.
Everybody leaves a footprint. How you doing?
That's encouraging. And
You're here for, pardon me? Oh, you're here for John. Well, feel free to go back to the kitchen, make some coffee, have fun, whatever you want. Anything in the refrigerator is open game, okay?
All right. So anyway, that's enough on this. We are making a difference.
Okay, we are. Yeah. Well, you never know.
Yeah. Let's go ahead.
I do
It's
have a
almost 10
political
o'clock.
call coming in from Tennessee at 10:30, so we have one.
So we got a hard.
And by the
break
way, Noah, you have to be watching out for the Zoom. We have a Zoom caller.
10:30.
Randy, is that his name? Randy. Okay, you know about that. Okay.
So
All right, we're
we'll
going to
take a
take a
break.
little break. I got to play some ads here. How do you do this thing? Here we go. All right.
And Serta Perfect Sleeper, Simmons Beauty Rest, Posh and Lavish, Urban Loft Ice, Pure Latex Bliss, I Love My Pillow, Kingsdown, Biscayne Bedding, and many more. US 1 right next to Waves, Mattress Market in Vero Beach. For a good night's sleep and a great deal. Mattress Market.
The Minutemen answered the call during the American Revolution. Now, Minuteman Press answers the call with custom print and design services designed to promote your business like nobody's business. They lead the charge, but never overcharge for great design, print, and promotional materials. Minuteman Press in Vero Beach and now in Port St. Lucie. Ready to answer the call. Google Minuteman Press or visit pslminutemanpress.com.
Hi, I'm a golf enthusiast, and I love Big Shots Golf on US 1, next to Advanced Eye Care. I was at Big Shots recently and had a great time playing a virtual 18-hole golf course. Big Shots also serves really good food. The mini cheeseburgers are my favorite. I love the ice cream, too. For a fun time, bring your friends and family to Big Shots Golf on US 1.
I know you want to have a beautiful smile. Well, an examination, radiographs, a healthy cleaning would normally be well over $200. Gosh. Right now, for $79, you can call Plains Dental Arts, 231-6004. It's all included for $79. The examination, the radiographs, the healthy cleaning. Okay, call Plains Dental Arts. Make your appointment right now, 772-231-6004. Takes care of gingivitis, takes care of halitosis, gives you a great healthy smile. You get a thorough examination. Plains Dental Arts, just south of the Village Beach Market on A1A. Again, $79 for the examination, radiographs, healthy cleaning, 231-6004. Call now, 772-231-6004.
A.E. Stalls Real Estate and Associates is a hometown family company. Josh and Mandy Stalls, along with their two sons, have deep roots in this community. As a boutique brokerage, they are located steps away from Vero's beachside communities. They have a strong team of realtors, the tools, and experience to guide clients to the closing table. Helping clients feel confident in the buying and selling market is what they do. You can reach them at stallsrealestate.com, Facebook, or 772-800-8305.
They say you sleep a third of your life. So why is shopping for a mattress so important? There's a mattress store on every corner. But when you visit the Mattress Market store, you'll find Steve and his family, in business for 35 years, waiting to help you find the best mattress at the best price to give you the best night's sleep. All the major brands: Serta Perfect Sleeper, Simmons Beauty Rest, Posh and Lavish, Urban Loft Ice, Pure Latex Bliss, I Love My Pillow, Kingsdown, Biscayne Bedding, and many more. US 1 right next to Waves, Mattress Market in Vero Beach, for a good night's sleep and a great deal. Mattress Market.
Well, an examination, radiographs, a healthy cleaning would normally be well over $200. Gosh. Right now, for $79, you can call Plains Dental Arts, 231-6004. It's all included for $79. The examination, the radiographs, the healthy cleaning. Okay, call Plains Dental Arts. Make your appointment right now, 772-231-6004. Takes care of gingivitis, takes care of halitosis, gives you a great healthy smile. You get a thorough examination. Plains Dental Arts, just south of the Village Beach Market on A1A. Again, $79 for the examination, radiographs, healthy cleaning, 231-6004. Call now, 772-231-6004.
Indian River County, roll with us, recycle.
It's hard to recycle, right? Pizza boxes, milk cartons, dog food bags, frozen food boxes, to-go cups and lids. Where do they all go? No worries, there's an app for that. Download the Carter's Corner app on your mobile device at Google Play or the Apple App Store, or visit indianriver.gov to find out if an item is recyclable in your blue cart or not. So eliminate confusion at the cart and recycle right with the Carter's Corner app.
Hi, I'm a golf enthusiast, and I love Big Shots Golf on US 1, next to Advanced Eye Care. I was at Big Shots recently and had a great time playing a virtual 18-hole golf course. Big Shots also serves really good food. The mini cheeseburgers are my favorite. I love the ice cream, too. For a fun time, bring your friends and family to Big Shots Golf on US 1.
Indian River County, roll with us, recycle.
It's hard to recycle, right? Pizza boxes, milk cartons, dog food bags, frozen food boxes, to-go cups and lids. Where do they all go? No worries, there's an app for that. Download the Carter's Corner app on your mobile device at Google Play or the Apple App Store, or visit indianriver.gov to find out if an item is recyclable in your blue cart or not. So eliminate confusion at the cart and recycle right with the Carter's Corner app.
The Rhett Palmer broadcast is brought to you by Complete Electric Complete Alarm. Get your generator checked now before the next hurricane strikes. Call the good folks at Complete Electric Complete Alarm. You'll be safe and sound when the next hurricane strikes. Call Complete Electric Complete Alarm.
Hi, I'm Renee Fiore. I own Tropical Restoration Services. We do water damage, mold damage, fire damage. You have a toilet overflows. We also do leak detection to find where the source is at 772-217-7422. That's the phone number for Tropical Restoration Services. So call me direct, Renee Fiore, Tropical Restoration, 772-217-7422. We will find the source of your problem and fix it.
Rhett Palmer, the mayor of the airwaves, is ready to go. Talking to people you want to know.
Face to face,
one-on-one. Get the story and have some fun with Rhett Palmer.
And now, the most trusted name in radio, Rhett Palmer, the mayor of the airwaves.
All right, we continue on your behalf trying to ferret out truth justice, honor, and the love of God to prevail throughout this world. What was that about?
Okay.
Oh, okay. I thought it was something. I thought it was my content. Okay, hold on a second. We'll start again in 1, 2, 3. All right, we're back. And we've got Noah back there doing a good job. Thank you, Noah, for caring enough. Notice he cares more as we've gone through. He started here when he was 17.
Yeah.
He could give a hoot.
Right.
But as he's getting older, I see a maturity. And he's actually admonishing me.
Yeah.
Which is good. I love admonishment. I don't understand why other men don't. The Bible clearly says that a wise man loveth counsel. You know, I want somebody to give a hoot because nobody ever did give a hoot when I was young. So if somebody corrects me, I'm all for it, Noah. I mean, great. And I have no problem with pride of a 26-year-old knowing stuff that I don't know. And, you know,
We can always learn.
from each other. Okay, let's accomplish something today. Folks, we're here, as I believe most people listening to this broadcast or viewing it are for peace. Whether you're in London, hello, by the way. You could invite us over to London. We'd like to do the show from there sometime. We could have fish and chips. Have you been? You've been to? You live there.
I live.
You went to the London School of Economics.
Right.
David, by the way, in case you're just tuning in, is a former U.S. diplomat, and I'm Rhett, that is very erratic and goes down many rabbit holes. I apologize for that, but you know, you can get the blah, boring news anywhere.
Yeah.
To get a little insight, hopefully, with maybe God's perspective on let's have peace,
Right.
if at all possible. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah. This International Criminal Court.
International Criminal Court. Okay, let me put on my glasses. And
Slowly.
International Criminal Court seeks arrest warrant for Prime Minister Netanyahu. Netanyahu claims the ICC, which is
The International Criminal Court.
is anti-Semitic, biased, and Israel therefore refused to accept its conclusion that he is complicit in international war crimes in Gaza. U.S. President Biden says the ICC prosecutors charged on Netanyahu are outrageous. What do you think? You know, can I ask you something? You know, everybody goes as newsmen.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to find out in life what sets somebody apart. I think my thing is heart. I think I have heart. I think I could get an interview out of Netanyahu that nobody else could get. Now, if that's arrogant, I'm sorry. I do think I have a gifting when it comes to heart. And that's why people trust me. Because when they get with me, they go, I tell you things I never told anybody. Because they know I'm not here trying to, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I don't even care if Hamas was here. I would sit with them and say, gentlemen, you're flesh and blood. As long as you're alive, I'm here to love you, serve you, and give you honor and respect and dignity to all. Right. And I think people sense that. So we all need to work together because, anyway, I don't know where I was going with this whole thing, but what do we do about this whole thing? Not Netanyahu. Of course he doesn't trust these people, but...
Yeah, this is...
I'd like to know why how does he justify some of the things they are doing?
There are some very troubling recent... literally breaking stories about Netanyahu and the International Criminal Court that have just come out in the last couple of days. Now, as you just said, Biden said that this ICC prosecution of Netanyahu is preposterous. Why is it preposterous? Biden himself said that Israel appears to be engaged in a war of starvation and is cutting off humanitarian aid. By the way, the U.S. Humanitarian bridge, the dock that they built, has all washed away. It's been out there for a week, and the storms just literally tore it apart, and it's gone. So that window of being able to supply additional aid through, which is proof, by the way, that by building that pier, it proves that the...
How did that get over there? He got my belly. You little sneak, you. If you want it that bad, go ahead.
Yeah. No,
it's yours. I'm going to get you your own bell.
Yeah, that's right. I'll get a horn. How about that? the pier, that's a $350 million pier. Yeah. It was there for 1 week, and now it's gone. It fell apart. It was washed away. It was washed away.
$350
million pier. It's going to be towed back to Ashkelon.
I could have retired on 1% of that.
I know, but here's the part that you need to remember. The reason why we built that $350 million pier was because not enough food aid was coming in to Gaza.
It still is not.
It still is not.
Okay.
In fact, it's even worse because now the Rafah crossing is blocked, and the Kar Sharam
But you're yelling,
crossing.
not just me.
I'm just trying to explain to you that the food aid is zero. They're not getting food
It would have been
and
better
medical
to
aid.
take the $350 million and buy food with it.
Well, and there's a lot of food sitting over there in
Who built that, by the way?
the United States government. The military built it.
Are we so inferior of mind and education now we can't build a $350 million dock and it goes down in the ocean?
That is
What the hell is going on? Where is Patton?
that exactly. This is
Where's Truman?
This is a rather embarrassing situation, but it didn't
Rather embarrassing.
It didn't have to happen.
It really worries me that we have idiots running our country.
It didn't have to happen if Israel would have let food aid come in the regular way. Okay?
I know that's ultimately it, but
it's
this is pretty moronic. Moron.
And therefore, this concept of a war of starvation, and the United States
We built a $350 million dock.
under President Biden's command, we built a dock that fell apart in a week.
And I don't care if it's Democrat or Republican or whatever it is.
Yeah.
They're all
Guilty. Guilty of
both sides.
Incompetence.
Bunch of idiots.
Incompetence and
we need some leadership.
Well, we do, and so the fact is that the Kerem Shalom.
My God, this is what happens when you let egoists run everything. You know, we need to get common people. We got that working guy in the back there now. He's a working man who is successful.
Right.
We need people to come out of the ranks of the people who are not smitten with power, but that actually want to help the world, that are generous and kind and good, to be running things.
Okay,
What the hell is going on?
Let's get back to the International Criminal Court. Biden is saying, "Oh, this is an outrageous claim of the International Criminal Court that Netanyahu is guilty of anything." Okay,
So Biden's pro.
he's pro-Israel, pro-Netanyahu.
Bibi, right? They call him Bibi?
Yeah, Bibi. He's pro-Bibi. He's claiming that this is a terrible. It's absolutely ridiculous. Biden himself is being ridiculous and illogical or hypocritical in saying that the ICC charges about this food crisis, which is part of the
It'd be a lot
claim.
worse if it wasn't an an election year.
Well, I'm
You
not
do
sure if it'd be
realize.
worse. I don't know that. I think Biden is trying to have his cake and eat it too. He's trying to
Exactly.
he's trying to keep the liberal Democrats who support the Palestinians, and he's also trying to keep the Israeli donor class, which rich Israeli AIPAC and those kind of groups, to keep giving to the Democratic Party. So he's trying to get both sides. Now, let me go back to this International Criminal Court. One of the senior statesmen of America, James, and the Netanyahu is saying, "Oh, this is a anti-Semitic court. They're basically opening these cases against me because I'm Jewish." That's absolute rubbish. He's claiming that, and Biden are claiming that that this claim of equivalence between Hamas and Israel, because the ICC brought charges against Hamas too. When they filed this case against Netanyahu and Gallant.
Well, at least it was balanced.
The point is the equivalence. It's not equivocating or qualifying equally Israel and Hamas.
How about this? How about we tell leaders on both sides, if you can't demonstrate the ability to bring about peace within a 5-month period, then you'll be strung up and killed.
Well, I'm not going to go to that extreme. What I'm trying to say, though, is Biden was saying that this is terrible that the prosecutor brought the equivalence of Israel and Hamas. He didn't. What he did is said Hamas committed war crimes, Israel committed war crimes, therefore both of them need to be charged with and tried on war crimes trials. That's what he said. There's nothing about equivalence there.
But this is a line without any teeth.
Well, not necessarily. No, not necessarily.
What could they do, really?
The ICC, as I've talked about before, is under the Rome...
they have about as much influence as you and I do on this show.
No, the ICC has has more influence in some ways than the International Criminal Court. I mean, than the International Court of Justice. The ICC,
How so? Explain.
they issue arrest warrants, and the signatories to the ICC, and there are 120 countries or more.
These countries have to
They
adhere to
have
that?
to adhere to it and arrest you if you have an arrest
Are we
warrant.
members?
No, the United States isn't. As I explained last week, the United States, under Bill Clinton, they signed for the ICC. They were actually an advocate for the ICC originally, and then they tried to create a what you called an escape hatch by saying, oh, only cases that are approved by the UN Security Council can be qualified as ICC cases. And the United States has a veto in the United States in the UN Security Council. So the U.S. was saying, oh, we support international law, but only on our terms, only when I can veto if the case happens to be one that I don't like. That's what I explained last week, if you listened carefully. And so anyway, Mr. Khan, this is the part that is the most disturbing breaking news. The Guardian newspaper of London, a very famous, well-respected newspaper, they have just concluded a one-year investigation of Israel attempting to compromise the ICC.
Oh.
What they did is the chief of the...
So are they anti-Semitic too?
I guess if they write anything against Israel, anybody that says anything against Israel is anti-Semitic by your definition.
It is in question today because so many people are.
No, well, let me just say this. What they have concluded...
How do we find an honest voice?
What they concluded, listen to this, what they concluded was that the Mossad chief at the time, Yossi Cohen, he attempted to intimidate the ICC's prosecutors who was investigating Israel for war crimes. He attempted to intimidate her over a period of months and years. She opened her investigation back in 2020, about 2015. That's when they started the investigation, was 2015. And during this period of time, the Mossad chief and Netanyahu, under direct orders from Netanyahu, he was attempting to. This is what the Guardian reports. An Israeli source briefed on the operation against Ben Suda, that's the special prosecutor, said the Mossad's objective was to compromise the prosecutor or enlist her as someone who would cooperate with Israel's demands, trying to essentially bribe her or threaten her to drop the case against Israeli war crimes. This is the charge that the government, the intelligence service of Israel, was trying to interfere in the transparent investigation of the International Criminal Court by attempting to blackmail or threaten the special prosecutor who was conducting the investigation. Now, that's pretty serious. That's serious. That was just released yesterday by the Guardian newspaper. Now, Israel is denying it. They're saying, oh, the Guardian's wrong. They've done a year-long investigation. They've got eyewitnesses. They've got inside sources that have provided 3 sources from inside Israel that were witnesses to these conspiracies of the Israeli intelligence trying to influence.
What else could they do?
What else could who do?
Even if Israel, let's pretend that I'm Bibi right now.
You think it's all right to interfere with a court case, to try to blackmail the prosecutor?
No, but I mean, whatever.
They actually not only tried to blackmail the prosecutor, they were showing photographs of her husband and her children. And the Mossad chief was saying, I'm the Mossad. I know everything. So they were essentially using the intelligence service of Israel to try to blackmail the highest court to drop charges against Israel. Now, that's a criminal activity. This is not what you call normal state-to-state policy. This is a crime chief.
For my little world, that would be akin
chief.
to me going and robbing banks to use the money to promote Jesus. Jesus would call that ill-gotten gain. Now, as far as feeding the hungry and being a Robin Hood, That I'm not so sure about.
Well, there's nothing to do with Robin Hood. This is what you called covering up your crimes. You commit crimes, somebody investigates, you try to bribe the guy that's investigating you. This is criminal activity.
It is.
In fact, I would call him, Netanyahu, the crime minister, not the prime minister.
No, but you're deeming this that he's guilty.
Yeah, they've got evidence that he's guilty. That she, the special prosecutor, actually briefed other members of the ICC about the intervention of Mr. Cohen in her. He was not too subtle. He actually dropped in on meetings and showed up in surprise places and made these innuendos and statements about how it's not, you want to keep safe and have a happy life, you better do what I say. That's basically what he was saying. This is like mafia, like the mafia. And she reported this to other members of the International Criminal Court.
You know, when you and I were young,
yeah,
I mean real young, let's
Yeah.
say back in 6th grade, there was always the hope that, hey, when our generation gets there,
yeah,
maybe we'll do something of consequence.
right.
And yet Putin is about my age, maybe a little older. We could have been friends when we were younger, played basketball together. And yet I'm so disappointed.
Right.
I mean, in many ways, things are worse.
Well, there are bad people, Rhett. We have to understand that. Putin's a bad person. Unfortunately, I'm concluding that Netanyahu is a bad person. He's the one who authorized his intelligence chief to go out and try to blackmail the prosecutor to block an investigation of his war crimes. That's bad. That's mafia. And if you're a mafioso, you can't sit there and come to me and say, let's be friends.
Everybody is, in any position of power, is contaminated.
No, don't. You're now trying to paint everybody with the same brush. No, there are different levels of contamination.
Oh, I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
There's having a little dirt under your fingernails and having blood on your hands. There's a big difference. Okay?
But a little dirt on your fingernails can lead to blood.
It can. But in this case, what I'm trying to explain to the audience out there is Israel and Netanyahu and his Mossad chief have been attempting to overthrow and destabilize the International Criminal Court. They would like to see it literally dismantled. They don't want law. They do not want
leave
law.
it alone and go about their business.
Because they
Okay, let me ask you this, though. If I was a great leader,
Yeah.
if there was any greatness in me,
Mhm.
and we've run into a few great men in your life, you know, the kind that are
Yeah.
quietly but solidly spoken, they're not given to emotion,
Right.
and they weigh things out, and they listen
Yeah.
to all sides, you know, what would transpire?
Yeah. Well, it
God help us, we don't have any great, wise leaders.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the last point for today, since we've only got another
A few minutes,
10
yeah.
minutes,
I
yeah.
got,
10 minutes. And this is an important topic,
we
too.
don't even have 10 because I got to cut out
Yeah,
early
okay.
in order to make things out. Should the U.S. cut its funding of the United Nations? The UN-linked International Court of Justice, ICJ, has opened investigations of Israel for genocide. And the UN General Assembly has supported making Palestine a full member state. Israel's prime minister openly accuses the entire UN of anti-Semitism.
Sorry.
Should you? And that might be true.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, you know, these guys. I mean, genocide. We've heard them call for, you know, both sides.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of people that want to destroy Israel.
Yeah, this is an interesting...
So to ignore that is a lie.
Well, this is an interesting question, whether the United States is the largest donor to the United Nations. We give $18 billion in 2022, $18 billion. Now, $7 billion of that was for the World Food Program, which basically provides food to the starving.
Are they accomplishing things?
Yeah, the World Food Program, there are lots of good things. The United Nations does a lot of good things. I'm not real fond of its what's called Human Rights Council. I think that's preposterous. They had Saudi Arabia was a member of the Human Rights Council after they killed Khashoggi.
Someday we ought to have a show on the UN.
Yeah, well,
you explain these things to me.
Yeah.
And then our audience will hear about this.
Yeah, well, and the UNRWA, you've heard of UNRWA before. That's the group that's dedicated to helping the Palestinians. When Trump was president, he actually defunded UNRWA. In 2018, he stopped payments to UNRWA.
That's because he's pro-Israel.
He's pro-Israel, yes. Yeah. And when Biden came into office in 2020,
what did he do?
He refunded UNRWA. But then, as of January 2024, Israel came up with this intelligence finding that said, oh, UNRWA is collaborating with Hamas, and therefore U.S. Biden administration said, we're cutting funding. And then after that, in March, the Congress passed a law or resolution saying we will not provide any funding for UNRWA for a full year from March 2024 to March 2025 because they are supporting Israel in Israel's claim that UNRWA is a Hamas front. That's what Israel's saying.
Well, maybe
Israel,
it is.
Well, here's the facts that show that it's probably not correct. This intelligence report of Israel saying that Hamas is that UNRWA is a Hamas front. There was a report that came out in February by the United Nations, which detailed allegations of mistreatment of UNRWA staff in Israeli detention. I mentioned detention before, these camps, these so-called holding people. The information provided to the United Nations about these Israeli holding facilities where UNRWA staff were being held is that they were engaged in physical beating, waterboarding, and threats to harm family members. Yeah. Now, waterboarding, threats to family members, this kind of stuff, physical beatings, there actually is proof that some of these people that were held under this involuntary detention system, what's called administrative detention, that they were giving false confessions under torture. So the confessions that Israel showed to the world about the UNRWA involvement with Hamas were from UNRWA employees who had been held in involuntary detention, tortured, and then gave false confessions. That's what the United Nations itself has concluded. Now, that's not getting a lot of attention. Most people haven't heard that. But that's so what you have to back out. And I know it sounds preposterous. Oh, Israel would never torture people to get false confessions. Yes, they would. And that's the problem.
We have too.
Well, we have too.
Everybody has.
Well, our problem with the Gitmo and a lot of the cases in Gitmo, why they never got to court, is because a lot of the evidence that was gathered under torture in Gitmo. And therefore, the evidence can't be used in court because it was gained improperly. Now, but the reality is Israel's waving around this intelligence that UNRWA is a tool of Hamas, when in fact, the evidence that they have is from tortured captives.
We got to go.
Okay?
Listen, we got a lot to discuss.
Yeah.
We should probably do a half-hour show before we do the show.
Yeah.
Because now we get down to the point where when we calm down, maybe we get something accomplished. We get in here, and I'm interested in entertaining, to be flippant and maybe, inflammatory, or finding the flame so people will be interested.
Right.
But then when we calm down,
well, these are what I
hope
call
there's some good that we can do.
Yeah, these are what I call revelatory, inflammatory facts.
I do want to ask this sometime,
Yeah.
and this will be it, and then we got to go.
Yeah.
So answer me next week. You travel the internet. You do a lot of research for all this stuff. And so I have to rely on your intuition to a degree.
Right.
But how do you differentiate? How do you know this one is? Because it's so. I wish we had. I was thinking when I was writing, we were doing the show today. I said vow. What did I write? Something about vow. In other words, there would be a press that would actually come up and vow before, I don't know, judges, something, say, I vow to be a real man of the press or woman of the press, and I will show all sides to a story and let the people make up their mind.
Yeah.
So anyway,
well,
I got to go because my guest is already here. Yeah. He's waiting online. Okay.
All right.
So
Good.
let's take a break, and then we'll be right back. All right.
Enjoyed it. Thanks, Rhett.
Okay. Randy is on the line. We're going to take a break, and we're going to cut down the equipment and start again, right? Okay. All right. We'll be right back with Randy.